So like the feeling that of the interruption right now with like the final throat number right now sending someone heading over to their base right now. And the bring that someone would be precisely Illumi is the film precisely that showing up precisely due to that Hisoka calling and messaging Illumi seeking help is the limit of the so like definitely right now my total impressions for so like the feeling about the impression right now is that they really Hisoka's like plan right now would be to like they with like the help of Kudame for like right now for like Hisoka and Kudame to like launch a team attack and like Hisoka to like reveal his like betrayal to like the final in front of like the uh, half of like the kind of members that are right now present in that kind of group who are like who are definitely like according to Flora, it is a plan like about maybe like these remaining final group members might have actually initially intended to like go up to and steal from like the second day of like the second underground option. Definitely by those premise. Definitely I'm considering like the second underground option will be like proceeding to like the second day as well. The second underground option. So like to steal the items from like the second underground option as well. Might have been like the plan and like the mission that Chloro might have assigned to like the first final group members that are currently right now in like, the base of like final. Definitely by those premise. But like I'm considering like the whole situation of like Chloro getting abducted and taken a hostage, like might have of like the says remaining candidates members that who unfortunately will be there are half the number of members presented currently presented like candidate case definitely members like campus different like they might have decided to like put out like postpone that or like that therefore like intend to like feel like or like uh, so like at that point they might have decided to like drop their first plan to like steal from like the second underground also simply because like they might have probably felt that like the their first leader flow role of like the final group like basically like his safety is like an even more with a priority but so they know the like they might have felt that they were going to remember. So not right now my remember is that like Hisoka like definitely since like Hisoka's like intent and plan from way back was like definitely to like have a one versus one fight against Floro. But like Hisoka might have only wanted to like have that one versus one fight against Floro, not just have a one versus one fight against Floro, but in that fight to like totally or for and defeat Chrollo and not only just defeat Chrollo but also take Chrollo's life. It would be like Hisoka's intent is definitely going to be so like I'm regardless of whatever intent with which like Hisoka had like in the past had joined like the final group. Like I was wondering maybe it might it has to do with like Hisoka seeking like mock challenges in his life that never was represented. So like I was wondering Hisoka even in Hisoka's younger days might have been like extremely overconfident. So like I'm going to bring and like he might have been born due to like absolutely no one being strong enough to challenge to go to like a challenge to Dota. So like maybe because of that like Dota might have only decided to like join like the fan group in like the past. It's also like a possibility that ends up with only pertains to be with like strong fighters and all that. Like if you, or like about bring it might have to do with like because like maybe Hisoka might have thought that basically by joining like such formidable team like the strong team like the fandom group like Hisoka would get the chance to like fight up against like existing strong enemies. It would be like one possibility that I'm also putting as for like maybe like the reason for like Hisoka even deciding to like join the fandom group or like the second reason I'm also putting it might be maybe for like Hisoka to maybe looking for like a shortcut and Hisoka might have heard of like the news about like the final group and all. So like I was Hisoka might have wanted to like get stronger quickly. So like I was wondering maybe Hisoka in order to get strong like Hisoka might have joined like the final group. So also like about to get stronger. Hisoka might have joined like the final group. It's also like about that but anyway that right now is the person Hisoka might have absolutely that Hisoka definitely would be having like after finding like God and Chilua might have that might have been potentially after finding Gon as well as Killua in running into Gon and Killua in like the Hunter's exam that basically from that point on like Hisoka might have only lost all interest in like the final group being part of the final group. Definitely my good friends. So from that point like just Gon and Killua like getting them uh, uh, somehow to get them stronger so that like Hisoka would have like the ultimate challenge fight in the future. Might have definitely gained like the new goal of Hisoka. So like from that point of Hisoka might have not at all been kind of in like the final but out and then even before joining like the final group, like when Hisoka might have heard of the final group itself, like Hisoka might have maybe like Hisoka like considering the book that maybe like even back then Hisoka might have been so strong and like Hisoka might have won a challenging fight in his life and due to not getting such a fight like Hisoka possibly Hisoka's life Hisoka probably feeling bored like that's the scenario that might have been like the scenario of that for like the situation of Hisoka before joining the fandom so then I was maybe Hisoka might have joined like the fandom group with like the intent itself to like defeat like the boss tier of like final group. But like I was saying, once Hisoka joined like the final group and like Hisoka was in like the presence of Chrollo, like Hisoka might have been able to sense that basically Chrollo is like a whole lot stronger than Hisoka at that point, especially when the credit. So like I'm assuming Hisoka might have done as like after being part of like the final group as a group, like Hisoka might have faced all sorts of like formidable strong enemies and that way like Hisoka and Hisoka might have trained privately as well. Then those like Hisoka might have reached like the full levels of strength at that point, definitely that way. It's also like a positive dynamic. So like at that point, Hisoka might have had just like feel this to fulfill this like long-term goal, which might have been to like basically fight, have like the one versus one fight against like the boss of the final group and to defeat him and take his life. And then like Hisoka and for like my personal is that like these are like the multiple possibilities as for like and Zoka right now definitely will be wanting to like leave the band and focus definitely my very membership. So definitely Hisoka one thing Hisoka might be well fully aware that would be that like if Hisoka fight like Chrollo and like defeats and takes the life of Chrollo then like the remaining the entire rest of like the fan group members would definitely be the possibility of like one among like the strongest like second strongest among like the remaining fan group members like basically replacing Chrollo as like the new boss or like leader of like fandom group and like that because and that way like the fandom group members like collectively with their great number like as a team like basically still being a team and still chasing after Hisoka to find and catch up and bring down and take the life of Hisoka might have been a serious possibility that Shizuoka might have felt might have foreseen as like a serious possibility that like even if like Shizuoka might have badly wanted to leave like the family group after defeating Chrollo and taking the life of Chrollo. That's like Shizuoka might have foreseen such a scenario as well. And Shizuoka might definitely even have a fear within deep down within him that basically even though like the remaining final group members like the gap between Chrollo and like the remaining final group members would be like kind of huge like still if like since like the panel of members are such so great in like number like so like if they all team up and decide to like target Shizuoka then at that point that may that's the possibility of Shizuoka not being able to like stop them and Hisoka was ending up time in such a manner. So also like a possibility that Hisoka might have felt discipline or the impression. So like I'm trying in order to do for like this especially about this reason I'm trying even right now as like Hisoka right now with only feeling as if like right now he's like strong enough to like really have that just ultimate wish of that like yeah and goal of like that having that one versus one fight against Chrollo and if he's able to do that like he would be most likely able to like defeat Chrollo and like the like of Chrollo give that false confidence that Hisoka right now would be having. It's definitely not good Amazon. But like even right now, Hisoka, you know, for Hisoka to do that, like basically Hisoka might have totally felt that he should also ensure that he's able to like split up like the fandom group and take out at least half of like the fandom group. So that like even if like the remaining half of like, the fandom group decides to like chase after Hisoka to get revenge on Hisoka. Like Hisoka takes like the life of Chrollo and like half of like the members of like fan group. Still, if like the remaining half of like the fan group members decide to like get revenge on Hisoka and takes after Hisoka, still there won't be even a threat to Hisoka since like there will be only like half of like the members of like the fan group at that point. So the along the lines Hisoka might have thought and in current Hisoka's current levels of Hisoka might have thought because that like, he possibly being almost strong enough to like basically be able to like take out half like the number of like the current number of random group members, especially also my thoughts members. So like in order to like so like basically to achieve this like to like basically like leave the to basically have this like ultimate fight against Chrollo and take the life of Chrollo and then for the job to like leave permanently leave the fandom group. while at the same time ensuring that the phantom troop members doesn't end up the remaining phantom troop members doesn't end up being a threat and saves Hisoka. To achieve all this, like I'm going to bring maybe Hisoka right now would be planning on seeing this as like the perfect situation with like the phantom troop members right now, half of them being like the base of like the phantom troop, and like while like the remaining half are like basically at a different location in like Yokohama City. Like basically, Hisoka right now might have totally felt this as like the ultimate opportunity, and especially with like Chrollo situation as well, Chrollo as well being taken a hostage by Kurapika. Hisoka might have only felt this as like the ultimate opportunity for Hisoka to like settle his to basically have that ultimate fight against Chrollo. But like before doing that, like Hisoka might have also felt that this would be like the ultimate opportunity for Hisoka to like take out half of like the dinosaur members as well. So like precisely within this intent like Hisoka and also to right now since like the situation with like Gon and Killua who did only precious to Hisoka is also with like Gon the situation being like Gon and Killua being taken hostage by Nobunaga like precisely to solve all these issues like Amber the Hisoka right now might have totally fought. I mean, like, let's say, Indonesia definitely went on to Ravens. So, like, right now, specifically went on to Ravens, that, like, the precisely person that right now heading to, like, the final round base would be precisely Indonesia definitely went on to Ravens. So, like, I'm preferring Hisoka might have message Indonesia. And, like, I'm preferring, according to, like, the current plan of, like, Hisoka and Indonesia, like, so like my very impression that like in Hisoka's message to Kyomi, Hisoka might have also told Indomie like the precise location as to like where exactly the coordinates of like where exactly Indomie should like show up right now. It's definitely my opinion. Hisoka might have right now given the precise coordinates of like the Phantom Group base. It's definitely my opinion. And that way right now it would be precisely Indomie that it would have like would be showing up to like Phantom Group base. Definitely my opinion. And at that point, if I'm different Hisoka and Indomie team like as a team that taking out half of like the Phantom Group members like that are right now present in like the days of like the Phantom Group. It's definitely my brother. Hisoka's betrayal of like the Phantom Group would be the official betrayal of like the Phantom Group and the things what happened right now. It's definitely my brother. So like I'm betraying in that team at that right that will be happening right now. So it was very much and I'm going to bring Hisoka and Ilumi as like a team like basically taking out half of like Phantom Group members in like the base of the Phantom Group. And then I'm going to bring Zoga telling Indomie to like straight away head off to like the present location where like and I'm thinking like maybe also like my brother mentioned that like also since like Hisoka and Kurapika are like working as a team and since like Hisoka had basically even secretly interacted with Kurapika and like Yokozuki and all that like work the teamwork and all that like I'm considering definitely Kurapika right now definitely might have totally message Hisoka about like Kurapika's plan to like basically with like Gon and the current situation being like Gon and Killua being like a hostage and that I'm considering like Kurapika might have totally Kurapika even telling like Nobunaga to like precisely take the hostages gone and Killua to like a precise location where uh, the Phantom Troops always often meet. Like basically even Kurapika specifying that specific detail would be precisely to set that ultimate trap for Nobunaga and free Gon and Killua. The flavor brings the message. So precisely that will bring Nobunaga to like the precise bizarre location where like Kurapika and Hisoka were Kurapika bonds is definitely went on great. So that like Kurapika made the only message to Hisoka telling Hisoka that basically Hisoka should like basically show up to that separate location and basically free Gon and Killua. And Kurapika will be well fully aware. So Kurapika will be having that confidence in even saying that like message to that like Hisoka because like Kurapika by now would be well fully aware as to like how precious that Hisoka finds Gon and Killua and how badly Hisoka possibly would want to like fight Gon and Killua in like the future and all that. So sort of remember the so like I was to bring like Kurapika and also part of like their teamwork and everything. Like I was to bring like Kurapika might not only message Hisoka to like safely show up to that safe locations where like Kurapika had told Nobunaga to like bring like the hostages and basically Kurapika would be totally thinking that Hisoka would be showing up to that location and Hisoka would be taking out Nobunaga and his that way like Gon and Killua will be getting freed so that like at that point itself Kurapika was totally expecting Gon and Killua to like totally straight away call Kurapika and tell Kurapika that like there are no more hostages that they have been freed so that like at that point itself Kurapika would be totally planning on taking the life of Chrollo. the important Chrollo that's like interested with like Kurapika says like Kurapika was not only planning on at that point itself, also seeing the very moment Kurapika the thing that's called Kurapika would be planning on without much delay itself like take Chrollo's life and like Kurapika even timing like Pakunoda to like timing like the whole like time for like Pakunoda to like even show up to like the airport exactly at 8 o'clock. It might also precisely definitely has to do with like Kurapika only expecting like Shizuoka to like take out Nobunaga and go on and that way go on and Killua getting killed even before that. Certainly not very able to. So like this might be the situation for like Kurapika while giving her orders to like Pakunoda to precisely show up at 8 o'clock in like the airport. Like Kurapika not specifying any time to like Nobunaga might be precisely because of that. Like maybe like Kurapika might have only expected Nobunaga to like bring back the hostage to like the precise location at even before that and Shizuoka to like take out Nobunaga and that they go on and Killua getting freed before that so then like all gone or Killua like falling Kurapika and Kurapika finding that out that they are free like Kurapika will be like Kurapika at that point will be planning on straight away taking Frollo's life so that like by the time it's like 8 o'clock and by the time like Pakunoda would be showing up to like the airport at that point for like Kurapika to take the life of Pakunoda as well would be like Kurapika's plan. Supplement of them. So like Kurapika would be so like I'm definitely expecting right now that basically Kurapika will be only unaware of Jack Hisoka seeking help and like bringing Illumi into like this whole situation. Definitely by the thing Kurapika totally unaware of that. And like maybe even when Hisoka might have like discuss like the whole team of things with like Kurapika in like your university at that when maybe like Kurapika might have even told Hisoka that like the boss of the fandom group like Kurapika would be definitely taking the life of like, the boss of the fandom group that basically he's like his mind would be along the lines Kurapika might have told Hisoka definitely will bring this that would be like the so that Kurapika might be like that would be Kurapika's way of like uh, of thinking that basically like Kurapika might have felt that only by if like Kurapika takes the life of like Kurapika herself takes the life of like the name of like the fan of will like Kurapika will be getting that feeling of like having gotten revenge on like the fan of for like about like and all that. It's definitely memorable impression. So definitely, my birthday is that like so like Hisoka might have totally secretly like played a trick on Kurapika's definitely by bringing Hidomi into like soul situations that my birthday which like Kurapika might be totally unaware of. Definitely my birthday is like I'm considering right now Hisoka's plan to be like right now to like basically right now I'm considering like after like Hisoka and Hidumi would be like right now teaming up and taking out like half of like the members of like the fan group who would be like right now presenting who are like right now presenting like the base of like the fan group. I'm considering after that like Hisoka straight away telling Hidumi to like giving like Hidumi like the precise coordinates and location where like Nobunaga would be taking on and Killua. And they are considering Hidumi to like show up and like the whole Hidumi versus like Nobunaga fight even happening. So like I'm just referring like straight away like as like at that point straight away as like the Illumi versus Nobunaga fight would be happening like I'm just straight away like the fights would be like intense like Illumi kind of getting a shock as to like the successful fight of Nobunaga. It's like the scenario that I'm just talking about. So like I'm just referring and I'm just referring like while like the team of Illumi and Hisoka might have taken out like half of like the final members uh, which would be most likely what would be right now happening in like the base of the final right now. And still, and Nobunaga would be definitely one among like the strongest, current strongest members of like the fandom group after like Stephanie also my person championship. So like I'm considering, and especially like I'm considering like even Inumi and Hisoka being able to take out like half like the members of like the fandom group might be like giving Indomie that or confidence as well. And like I'm wondering it will be solely due to like Hisoka for that they will be able to like take out like half of like the final group and also step in the but like I'm wondering once like Indomie would be showing up to the location where like Gon, Kilo and Nobunaga would be and Indomie would be having that one versus one fight against like Nobunaga. At that point I'm wondering like Indomie to like keep this struggle. So like I'm wondering initially Indomie approaching that fight with that asport or confidence while I'm wondering like Killua as well as like Gon would be only telling Indomie like offering their help to like Indomie that like let's fight telling Indomie that let's fight together and defeat Nobunaga. But like and Killua would repeatedly trying to like convince like Illumi that really you won't be able to like defeat Nobunaga all by yourself. Like you are going to die if you try to like defeat if you try fighting Nobunaga all by yourself. And along the lines of the bring gone as well as like Killua specifically like trying to convince Illumi, but like Illumi is not being convinced and filled with that absolute ego and confidence that also bring Illumi totally like having that one versus one fight against like Nobunaga and also bring like into that fight versus Nobunaga thoroughly or pouring and seriously Illumi taking a lot of serious injuries just like the scenario that I was doing in like Illumi is totally getting overpowered by Nobunaga like the scenario that I was doing and I was bring like while Nobunaga would be about to take Illumi's life but that will last second Killua totally interfering and saving Illumi is like the scenario that I was bring and at that point like finally like Illumi's like ego would be getting crushed and basically Illumi would be totally convinced at that point that basically what Killua and Gon has done was like right that they need to team up and work together if they want to like defeat Nobunaga. So like at that point like Gon, Killua and Illumi three versus one fight against like Nobunaga and was going to happen at that point and I'm remembering at that point maybe I was wondering at that point for like maybe God or Killua like getting awakening some sort of like a new power. It's also like about using that approach to bring. So like I was wondering with their collective effort like them or pouring and defeating and taking the life of Nobunaga. It's like the scenario that I was remembering. And my also very much sure. So like I was wondering while this would be happening, I'm also wondering so like I was the prediction right now is for like the Wimbledon scenario to be like basically with like Kurapika would be totally saying that basically since like Kurapika and the Bring would be totally expecting Hisoka to like basically go up to and fight Nobunaga like Kurapika would be totally expecting like Gon and Killua to be totally free before like 8 o'clock. But like I would think that will not happen and like basically it being 8 o'clock and like Pakunoda showing up and I'm going to bring Kurapika still having like slow approximate yet like I'm going to bring like Kurapika at that point that would be like trying to like hide from Pakunoda but like I'm going to bring that will not happen and Pakunoda showing up and I'm going to bring like Kurapika somehow desperately trying to buy time. It's like the scenario that I'm going to bring Kurapika would be basically waiting for that like call from like one of Silva saying they are free, but like I'm wondering since it will be like Illumi that will be like fighting off against like Nobunaga. I'm wondering for that to like eventually defeat Nobunaga and for Gon and Killua to get free, like it takes some time. It's like the scenario that I'm wondering. So like I'm wondering, slightly as like and I'm wondering like right then I'm wondering maybe it would be like and as like Kurapika would be getting worried like at that point it's when I was wondering maybe like Hisoka would be showing up to that better location. It's definitely my favorite. So like right then I was wondering like Hisoka telling Kurapika to like totally release Chrollo from her chain game with like the scenario that I was like and like Kurapika telling Hisoka that like of course he won't like basically and and at that point, I'm also predicting like the festival without be showing up. I'm also predicting like definitely Pakunoda as well as Chrollo would be like totally glad singing that Hisoka is like on their side. So like I was wondering Hisoka like Kurapika refusing to like release Chrollo from like the chain jail. I'm also wondering Hisoka right then itself like using a scar like basically that attacking Kurapika like the scenario that I'm looking at. Like even though it won't be like an extreme serious injury that would be like or like a serious extremely powerful attack by Hisoka that Hisoka would be attacking Kurapika with like Amazon still that attack of Hisoka causing Kurapika causing Chrollo to be get freed from Kurapika's chain jail. So like I'm wondering Hisoka doing all this just to like Hisoka more confident saying that Hisoka right now would be able to like have it like ultimate one versus one battle against like Chrollo and the kids Chrollo. Like the scenario that I'm doing. So like I was trying to especially when Chrollo would be played like Chrollo as well as Pakunoda being absolutely pleased with Hisoka. And at that point would be when like Hisoka would be like at trying to take the spotlight, has the spotlight and revealing to like a shock Chrollo and Pakunoda that he is like the ultimate traitor. And basically like he was doing all this to like basically have that one fight against like Chrollo. It's like around like the scenario that I'm going to bring. So like at that point, I was bringing Pakunoda totally getting extremely triggered, and I was bringing Pakunoda trying charging it to like Pakunoda was bring one the like controls herself at that point, and Pakunoda charging towards like Hisoka straight away trying to like take Hisoka's like to like the scenario that I was bringing. But like at that point, so, with like a single attack, I was bringing like Hisoka straight away taking Pakunoda's like the scenario that I was doing. And then it would be just like Hisoka in that location. It would be just like Hisoka, Chrollo, and Kurapika who would be like injured and sidelined of the scenario that I was going. So like I'm going to bring once again like Hisoka, which is like awesome for the fact that one versus one fight against like Chrollo. And like at that fight would be eventually progressing about the like Hisoka only getting his like ego crushed by Chrollo, with like Chrollo eventually only starting to or and defeat Hisoka. And basically like as Chrollo only about to take Hisoka's life, like by then like Kurapika would have come like the silence, Kurapika would have recovered enough. And basically Kurapika saving Hisoka's life at that very last second by interfering with like the scenario that was in which Chrollo wouldn't be at all expecting that to happen. It's like the scenario. Uh, that about the brain. So especially after Hisoka attacking Kurapika, like Kurapika to save Hisoka's life would be the like last thing that Zoro would be expecting as like Zoro would be about to take Hisoka's life. So like that happening and Hisoka being saved by Kurapika, it's like the scenario and Prince something want to end. Like at that point, Hisoka like that is like ego crushing Hisoka finally being forced to like basically to listen to like Kurapika and like Hisoka faced with that absolute realization that Hisoka won't be able to like defeat or bring down not only won't be able to like defeat or bring down Chrollo, but like Hisoka will be like right now dying by the hands of Chrollo if Hisoka doesn't team up. Listen to Kurapika and teams up with like Kurapika and fights a 2 versus 1 fight against like Chrollo. Would be along the lines Hisoka would be reaching that absolute realization at that point is like the unique scenario that it will become. So like at that point like it's like a team effort of like Hisoka and Kurapika them not struggling their way into like an only or for and defeating Chrollo. Yeah, like I'm considering they won't be able to take the role of like Roro successfully escaping like the scenario that I'm considering. So like basically in short, like my tutorial research that like according to my tutorial research, I'm considering by the time like the whole chaos and whole fight would be like over, like I'm considering the situation for like the final group, I'm considering should only be that kind of like according to like according to like the premonition. Where like I'm considering there would be only I'm considering only for 7 fandom group members alone to like remain and including the follow and also bring like there will be only a total of 7 fandom group members like remaining after like when the fight like the scenario that I'm also protecting with like all of with like half about like half of the fandom members who would be who are right now at like the base of like the fandom group. All of each and every single one of the members of the should die by the combined attack of Black Hisoka and Killua, which is like the scenario that I'm also bringing. I'm also Okay, so like definitely what is very impression right now at what I'm gonna see this girl, it's the unknown girl that basically that the members of the planet group right now have seen in like their face, like I'm like she would definitely be like Silva's sister, definitely my best friend. So like I'm saying right now that like Yoga by quickly help to like Idumi and like Idumi might have felt that basically who definitely like Idumi might have definitely felt that like since like the final group was like involved so like fight against like the Phantom Trope would be definitely happening. So like I'm going to bring that Iduni might have definitely it that to like know to just not go by himself but also like Iduni might have also got the sister as well to like join in and basically that so but like I'm definitely putting that definitely Silva neither Silva nor like Zeno would be present. I'm going to bring right now the repressions the electro the entirety of like this whole current attack on like the Phantom Trope by Kurapika and Suzuka. I'm going to bring for the remaining of this current attack, like I'm considering, like neither Silva nor Zeno to like show up. It's like the scenario that I'm considering. They won't be showing up in the film of the information. Like I'm considering definitely right now definitely I'm considering it will be Lumi and Lumi's sister and Hisoka. So three of them I'm considering right now would be that collectively uh, would be like taking out like half of like the final group members that are right now definitely like the basis of the final group. Definitely members of the impression, but I can bring more likely Hisoka after doing that, like Hisoka definitely sending not just Indomie, but like Indomie as well as Indomie's sister to like that particular location where like Nobunaga who has taken Gon and is ready to by taking Gon and kill our house taking. So like I'm considering right now, my reference is that like it won't be like 1 versus 1 Indomie versus Nobunaga fight that will be like eventually happening. But like right now, I'm considering it will be most likely a 2 versus 1 Indomie and Indomie's sister as a team on one side versus like a single Nobunaga on the other side, like having the fight, like the scenario that happens again and considering maybe even possibly even maybe that not being enough to the combined strength of Illumi and Illumis is maybe possibly not being enough to like bring down Nobunaga. It's like also like a definite possibility that I was on the brain. I'm definitely expecting maybe like definitely like Nobunaga actually in actuality would be like the seriousness of definitely never the impression. So like I was bring like even with like the combined effort of like Tsunomi and Ilumi's sister and the different eventually them not being able to like defeat Nobunaga them and then eventually totally getting overpowered by Nobunaga. So the scenario that I'm bring at that point where like gone and Kilua would be like only contributing and basically would be helping out and basically like it would be with the help of solely due to like the help of Gone and Kilua that solely due to that their help and that way like the collective attack combined team attack against like a single Nobunaga and the suffering with like the team of like Kilua's sister Ilumi and like Gone. That will be like the core of the combined team attack against Nobunaga that since right now definitely prepping will be like even be able to like need to be bring down Nobunaga like in this scenario that I'm going to prepping and also, definitely my dream picture right now because that basically, even though right now like the kind of event that decided not to go after like Kilonia system as well as like the Japan, because we probably still can go definitely putting like definitely Ilomi as well definitely will be present and I'm basically like the trio of Ilomi's sister as well as Hisoka. I'm considering them still in the consideration that they won't be leaving like the base of like the final group without taking like the life of like half of like the panel group members, like all the panel group members that are currently right now present in like the phase of like the panel group, like like Hisoka, Ulumi, and Ulumi's sister to like not leave the base of like, the panel group without taking all of their life to like the literal scenario that I'm going to only putting in the okay, so like the Liverpool to the induction right now with like Kurapika and luring like Pakunoda to an airship and like the airship even taking out that different like right now definitely Kurapika would be definitely present within that airship with like Chrollo as a hostage. It's definitely my personal impression. So like I was wondering right now what Kurapika would be doing would be Kurapika might have maybe like expected like the possibility of like maybe like expected such worst case scenario where like Gon and Killua doesn't get saved in time. So like I'm preferring maybe like to do all the time stalling like maybe that might be the reason for like Kurapika only luring Pakunoda into this airship to make it seem to Pakunoda as if like Kurapika's language is through Kurapika's phone call like Kurapika's like taking Pakunoda to like the location where like Kurapika has held like Chloro, the hostage through like the airship's ride and everything. It definitely my personal impression. Well, in actuality, Kurapika would be Ambassador would be most likely present in the airship with like the change and the like Chloro as the hostage is definitely my personal impression. So like this would be Ambassador should totally be like Kurapika's time stalling strategy to like because like Kurapika right now would be patiently waiting for like that call from like Gon or Killua to arrive saying that basically they have finally been freed. So that like at that point Kurapika could like straight away take the life of so that like Kurapika would like straight away take the life of that Chloro and basically then Kurapika would like straight away that within like Kurapika would like straight away walk up to that Pakunoda and basically straight away take the life of Pakunoda or like after taking the life of Chrollo that Kurapika would be able to like phone Pakunoda and like land the airship in like some sort of like location and basically there for like Kurapika to tell Pakunoda to like get down so that like basically there Kurapika would be able to like get down as well and basically that way shock Pakunoda and I'm going to Kurapika would be not expecting that like Pakunoda would be like becoming weak on the realization of like the death of boss near so like I'm talking so that like Kurapika at that point itself would be planning on attacking Pakunoda while Pakunoda will be weak and basically straight away taking the life of Pakunoda. Maybe this might be like Kurapika's plan. It's also definitely my very impression right. Okay, so like definitely my very impression right now as for like the miracle that right now Kurapika is like desperately wishing for and desiring for to so that like then that the planet could be like brought down and that miracle and considering like it would be a full miracle, but like I'm considering Kurapika appreciating like half of a miracle and that would be precisely like Shizuoka the team of Hisoka, Indomie, and Indomie sister. It's definitely memorable amazing. Like them, like basically taking out half of like the fandom group members and taking the life of like half of like the fandom group members before leaving like the fandom group space. Like the definite scenario that I'm still thinking also. It's definitely my popular introduction. So that like understand my popular so that like only half the remaining half of like the fandom group members will be only the ones that will be remaining. And considering like after that, like specific amount of the is that it would be like a total of like 7 channels of the selling that would be remaining either including or like exploding Chrollo. And I'm considering to be most like exploding Chrollo, like I'm considering that it will be only like the seventh fan, it will be only seven fan members that will be returning back to like the basic fan over. And at that point, I'm considering they will be shocked and seeing like all of the remaining half members of the fan group that within like the base of the fan group as well as his outcome missing. So I'm with the state with them being able to like realize that it's okay like the writer and I'm looking right now with like his Kurapika's like ultimate NEN conditions for like Chloro. I'm definitely like Chloro to definitely obey those NEN conditions. I'm definitely putting Chloro not try to like resist those NEN conditions and that way that to choose that over like for obeying like Kurapika's like and condition that like not the scenario that I was referring to. So that's because like I'm referring that Cloro would be well and fully aware of like how good he is when it comes to like analyzing and figuring out strategies and solutions and everything and connecting like the final group and everything and taking them forward as a team and all that. Like, but still I'm referring like still Cloro would be also genuine about his role that basically like that basically that they the final group and the shouldn't like prioritize like the life of like Chloro over like the survival of like the African plants as like a whole. So also the cinema was telling. Yet like I'm wondering in like the current situation of like Kurapika placing net conditions to ultimate net conditions towards like Chloro and considering Chloro like considering like Chloro totally obey like deciding to like obey like the net conditions of both the net conditions of Kurapika like the scenario that I'm looking at. Chloro would definitely having a plan. Just like also the cinema was mentioned. So basically because like I'm considering like the first two then conditions even being for Chloro even being like Chloro totally being unable to use any of the stagnant power and on top of that Chloro not forbidden from like making any connection with like it is like kind of group like I'm considering and especially since like Kurapika had said like not the kind of group but like this Kurapika had said Riordan and some different especially because of that like I'm considering maybe to see due to that maybe Kurapika I'm considering maybe like not aware that I'm considering that I think that maybe it's only like half of like, the members of like, the panel group that are Riordan members, especially members of the so like I'm considering maybe Kurapika might have only mainly assumed that basically each and every single member of like, the panel group are all Riordan members, it's definitely I'm considering hence why like Kurapika in her second then condition might have totally made that absolute mistake without realizing that half it will be only half of the panel group members are that are only Rodan. So like that's what I'm saying that making the second end condition for like Chloro to like never make any connection to like any of like the Rodan members like I'm wondering even that members referring to totally but like my very impression is that still Kurapika and bring the miracle, that absolute miracle happening for Kurapika and about to bring it to me precisely through right now about to bring like the fan group members that are right now all present in like the phase of like the fan group, like half of the fan group members which will be most likely present right now in like the base of the fan group like those will be like the precise fan group members that are not real members. So it's definitely my opinion impression. So like I'm considering right now with like Hisoka right now the Phillips typically members were like Hisoka, Illumi and Illumi's sister like taking out those half of like the fan group members who are not Ryoda members. So they right now presently like the race of panel it's like the scenario that I'm supposed to bring sitting on to. So like that I'm supposed to bring so totally turning to like to like the favor of like Kurapika with like Ambrose Prince. So that like after like Hisoka, Illumi as well as Illumi's sister will be taking out those half of non-Rion and panel members like the remaining panel members that will be surviving like the current situation will be only like the Rion members of like the panel group alone like those half panel group members that will be surviving like the current situation and also bringing each and every single one of them will be like a real members of the family group. It's definitely my Korean region. So like I'm considering still I'm considering like Chloro figuring out strategy to like even bypass like to even like the strategical manner like I'm considering Chloro figuring out strategy to like bypass like the second end condition of Kurapika of like not maintaining any contact with like the Reodan without actually making any and considering Floro that in like the future only obeying by obeying that second end condition of Kurapika and but for still Chrollo being able to like make connections with like the fan of, but like about the frame, it would be in that it would be in like an indirect manner, like the scenario that I'm looking. So like about to bring Floro, about to bring after definitely about to bring Floro to definitely survive like the current situation, and after escaping about to bring Floro would be not returned back to like the base of like the final pro precisely because of like Kurapika's second non condition. But like about Frank Floro would be totally having a plan. Because like about in like the future, Floro would be like straight away heading out of like the university at that point. It's like the scenario that I'm doing. And Floro would be like searching for that absolute perfect intermediate with whom like Floro would be able to like indirectly communicate like and send messages to him, which would be like through him that way sending like the intermediate like Flora would want to like pass on all of Flora's message to his like remaining Riodan members of like, the final group. So like that way like the intermediate sending like all the messages and everything that Flora has to tell like the remaining Riodan members of the phantom group like that will be communicated through like the intermediate. So like seems like the situation will be like Flora talking to like the intermediate and I'm referring for even saying all that in like symbolic or like manner, like in a sign or like a symbolic kind of like a manner. I'm referring Chloro would be like even talking to like the intermediator, and the Chloro would be like totally Chloro might have only told like the intermediator actually like what his job is, and basically like I'm referring like so like I'm referring like in their such in an indirect manner. I'm referring this intermediate was like becoming such an important gap eventually, and considering like that gap was considering like passing on all the messages from Floros to like the Phantom Group, uh, to the remaining Riota members of the Phantom Group. So like even though I'm considering at that point Floro won't be having any of its land powers, like still I'm considering that Floro to like come up with like all sorts of ultimate strategies to like precisely bring down to precisely find like the same user of Kurapika and basically take the life of not the same user but also Hisoka as well as Gon and Kidora. So like basically Floro attempting all this in like the different features of like giving the scenario. Second book is all becoming another Korean version. So we say like definitely going to Korean version right now as for like Gon and Kidora in like their hostage situation like surrounded by a bunch of fan group members with like Nobunaga on lying on the floor. And the thing is definitely my first impressions were like right now like the fan group members might have taken the life themselves might have taken the life of Nobunaga. It's definitely my first impression. It's only due to like a possible what might have happened would be like with the whole confusion between like and quarrel and fight between like Nobunaga, recent quarrel and fight between like Nobunaga and that other fan group member. Not as for like his decision to like follow Nobunaga, follow like Pakunoda or something like basically prioritizing like Chrollo's life or like you know prioritize Chrollo's life. Like basically that was and the confusion might have usually resulted in like maybe Shal and President Shal might be like the random group member usually might have decided to like precisely phone the precise Phantom Group member at like the base of like the Phantom Group whom like the Phantom Group member who can shoot bullets from his like basically that say fan from a Parambo Pickering would be like the second uh, uh, smartest and most brilliant, second most brilliant fan group member after Chrollo. In that sense, that if it's a fan group is definitely one of the guys. So like I was saying, Shall might have only phone him and talk to him and might have explained to him about like all the current situation about like the orders for Rapid assets and everything. So like I was wondering at that point I was wondering it might have been precisely that precise kind of member who can shoot bullets out of the fist like basically that kind of a member he might have quickly figured out that basically what exactly is like the chain use of weakness like for Rapid's weakness. Which even after all this time that which that happening even after all this time Pakunoda haven't found out as definitely going to be able to like but like that precise phantom member who can shoot bullets from his fist like we might have quickly been able to like, figure out after hearing everything Chal had to say about like the orders for Africa had given them like I was he might have been able to simply figure out that basically the precise weakness of like the chain user is basically the chain user like Kurapika's like extreme bond of friendship uh, to like just off stages like basically that basically like for us your like seeing users won't be able to like take won't be able to take floors like as long as they have their top stages with them like basically So like I'm going to bring like precisely like I'm going to bring that the final crew member might have told Shal and like the other seven other final crew members that basically that they can totally take the that they should totally all together take like the hostage to like a precise location where like Kurapika had ordered in her phone port to like take the hostage to like they are like all of like those other half of like panel members need to go there together and it shouldn't be no that all by himself that should go there. Like it's perfectly okay for all of them to go there precisely because like even if they do so like and breaks the rules that the chain user has set up or like the order that the chain user had set up for them like even then like the Kurapika won't be taking the life of Chrollo would be like one thing would be that thing with that absolute confidence that possess panel group member with who can fire bullets from his fist like might have sword shell and like the other panel group member through like the phone call is definitely with the emergency that might have been what might have happened so like I'm wondering at that point those remaining half of like the kind of problem of let them might have they might like definitely even respect like the brilliance and the smartness of that of their panel problem of second members of the so like his word like they might have all taken his word as that much serious of second members of the so like at that point I was wondering they might have told Nobunaga that basically we are out so like maybe it's very ambitious and like at that point they might have told Nobunaga that we are all going to like take the hostages and go to like the location that like the changes of had said like in phone call like basically we are going to take the hostages to that location together. And it won't be that Nobunaga by himself like that will be going to be along the lines they might have revealed like Nobunaga and Nobunaga might have straight away disagree because like Nobunaga might be like extremely naive to like figure out like the weakness of like Kurapika even after like that even after that uh, even after that, the final comment doesn't get shoot a fire bullet from its first might have revealed that still under the brain Nobunaga alone might have not had that much an impression of him. Or like about it might be due to like Nobunaga totally feeling like extremely uneasy and worried as for like Zoro's safety and all of like especially because Nobunaga alone being like that first kind of group member who had basically had the best of the bonds of friendship with like Gogen and Nobunaga being like that kind of man, but that is affected the most with like Gogen's death. So like Nobunaga might also have like a great bond with Chrollo as well from like the past that like Nobunaga might have felt totally worried and might have felt that he can't afford like the thing Chrollo like at any cost at all. So like I'm for example because of this reason like even after like that phone call with that random program. But even then, like I was talking, it might have been only Nobunaga alone that might have still objected to that the remaining those half of like random program was going along with like Nobunaga to where Nobunaga would be taking the hostage. So like I was what might have happened would be like so like Nobunaga might have said this and like to go on and Killua to that precise location where like Kurapika had ordered Nobunaga to bring like the hostage just to so like while Nobunaga brought them there, like under the bring what might have happened would be like the remaining half of like the final group members might have stealthily been following Nobunaga that entire way. So like about the thing once like Nobunaga reached that spot, that location, and basically just like gone and killed. At that point, I was wondering like the remaining final group members like might have without the they showed up there and might have taken Nobunaga's life. Might have showed up there. So like at that point, Nobunaga might have gotten extremely angry with them, and Nobunaga might have started to like shout at them and forcing them to like go away that like core of light is in danger if you stay here like maybe along the lines like Nobunaga getting extremely angry like the scenario that I'm in. So like at that point I was bring like the remaining fans remaining half of the panel group members at that point might have taken back Nobunaga's life like the scenario that I'm predicting. So like this might be the precise reason for like Nobunaga right now lying on the floor with like at this like at this like location where like assist location that's not important that the Dawn and Killua are basically tied up as like hostages surrounded by all this great number of half of like the planet members surrounding the host tied up Dawn and Killua. Like the situation happening that all these things might have resulted into like such a situation that It's definitely my February impression. So like definitely my February impression right now is that right now like the current situation it's not like Nobunaga uh all by himself present with like the hostage is gone and Killua at like the precise location where like Kurapika had told Nobunaga to bring the hostages to. And instead, since like the current situation is like basically possibly like Nobunaga dead and like the remaining half of like, the Phantom Group members right now in that precise location, so like the hostage is gone and Killua and considering right now definitely for right now considering like the scenario possibly would be like Hisoka along with like Indomie and Indomie's sister like would have I'm considering right now to like leave like the ways of like the Phantom Group without taking out like the uh like without taking out like the Phantom Group member the half of like, the Phantom Group members that are present in like the base like Hisoka along with like Indomie as well as like Indomie sister deciding not to like attack or take their life. Hisoka deciding not to take their life, but like Hisoka and Indomie and Indomie sister is like leaving like the base of like the Phantom Group and basically surprisingly showing up to his exact location where like Gon and Killua are held hostages and surrounded by like the remaining half of the Phantom Group. So like there precisely to that location, I'm going to bring without much great delay. I'm going to bring Hisoka as well as Indomie as well as like Indomie's sister showing up. It's like the scenario together. It's like the scenario system that I'm also bring. And there, like I was bring the trio team of like Hisoka, Indomie, and Indomie's sister versus like that remaining half of the Phantom Troop. That is fight happening. It's like the scenario that I was bringing. And I was bringing it precisely, precisely like the moment Hisoka would be showing up with that much great delay at all. Like even before the fight begins, like I was bringing Hisoka would be like straight away freeing Gon and Killua. It's like the scenario that I'm going to bring. So like that way, like I'm going to bring Gon and Killua as well, like helping out and joining in on the fight. And I'm going to bring that way it would be like the team of Hisoka, Illumi, as well as Illumi's sister, as well as uh, Indian system as well as like Gon and Killua, like their team versus like that half of like the Phantom Group members that would be present there in that location. It's like the scenario that I'm going in which like Hisoka and team would be like totally like not only authoring and defeating them, but like I'm going to bring like those precise exact half of the members of like, the Phantom Group members would be like I'm going to bring right now to be like the first Phantom Group. Ryodan members of like the Phantom Group and like those exact Ryodan members of like the Phantom Group dying in that fight. It's like the scenario that I'm also talking about. So like and with that like I'm also something like and with that like Gon and Killua being freed it's like the scenario that I'm going to bring. But like I'm going to bring like in the case of like the so like at that point I'm going to bring like the second end condition that basically right now Kurapika has placed on to like Chrollo, like I'm going to bring Chrollo's while I'm still thinking my variable so that like Chrollo would be obeying the two end conditions, like the second end condition of Kurapika I'm going to bring that still thinking about the variable so that like it would definitely be due to like Kurapika's like naive assumption that each every single member of like the Phantom Group are all Ryodan members. It's definitely my variable. So like that assumption totally backfiring on Kurapika was like Ryodan specifically like to criticize Ryodan members of each and every single one of like the current Ryodan members of like the Phantom Group, excluding Chrollo, like all the remaining Ryodan members of like the Phantom Group members, especially being like the ones to end up dying by the hands of like Hisoka and Illuminati remember sister and Gon and Killua. While like the remaining Phantom Group members would be present at like the base of like the Phantom Group members would be all non-Ryodan Phantom Group members with like the scenario that I'm doing. And that way like Chrollo easily even after escaping like basically easily escaping like this is like the scenario that I was doing still Chrollo easily being able to like communicate with like all those like remaining half of like the known Ryodan panel group members and Chrollo revealing everything that happened to them and basically like them currently for the time being deciding to split up and leave for like their meeting in like the distant future where like they will be like totally planning on getting revenge on like the chain user and Philip and all of them. Like basically in like the next time they will be holding their meeting and like that meeting as well Emperor Ibrahim would be like precisely held by Chrollo. Like the scenario that Emperor Ibrahim such a meeting happening in like the city where like Chrollo and like the remaining half of like the final group members would be striking back and Emperor Ibrahim maybe by the like Chrollo would have recruited new members as well to like the panel, but also like the scenario that and those are different. And then more collectively deciding to like launch the counterattack against like the same user as well as like the Doga. It's like seeming to possible scenarios that are those are the parameters of the revolution. Also, like the flavor was very impressive. It's that like the since like Nobunaga basically lying on the floor would be most likely due to like Nobunaga having possibly having like life taken by the remaining half of like the panel remember solely due to like Nobunaga even after like most likely that the kind of member who can fire bullets from this like having told them about like Kurapika's weakness after like he might have figured it out. It's definitely very much so like I was saying like he might have also precisely the so like at that point I was bringing the fantasy members might have also like forced Pakunoda as well and might have also told Pakunoda as well as for like the chain user's weakness as for like them having to without like the chain user's weakness is definitely might be very written that like the chain user won't definitely won't be taking the life of Chrollo as long as like they have like the hostages with them. Might be like definitely along the line that certainly the panel members might have phoned and informed Pakunoda as like Pakunoda might have been on her way towards the airport. It's definitely my good reason. So like right now as like Pakunoda is right now standing right in front of like the changes of Kurapika as like Kurapika is like stating out these two name conditions like definitely my brother and right now as like Kurapika is like even asking Pakunoda if like Pakunoda will even let Kurapika proceed with like the enforcing of like the nil condition and of the thing like Pakunoda like right now not saying anything and maybe like Kurapika and of the thing right now about to like enforce like the nil condition using her chain. But like about the right at that point itself like about the Pakunoda stopping that attempt of Kurapika. And at that point about the would be when like the silent Pakunoda would be speaking up and speaking up for entirety of like a dialogue like the scenario that I'm doing the Pakunoda would be telling, calling out Kurapika on Kurapika's weakness. That basically, that about the Pakunoda straight away at that point, revealing to that Kurapika that basically, that she knows that basically Kurapika won't be taking floor of life at all, as long as we have your hostages left. And also, it's like Pakunoda revealing to, and telling to that Kurapika right now without much delay, with like a villainous minus like the scenario that I'm just only protect and my secondary American seems like for Senritsu was like right now in this like situation it's like Senritsu is right now beside Kurapika I'm going to bring like Senritsu definitely I'm going to bring without much creative at all like I'm going to bring Senritsu would be dying either by the hands of like Chloro or like Patanora and I'm going to bring Kurapika would be like a situation where like Kurapika won't be able to like even save central to like the scenario that I'm bring. So like I'm bring like Chrollo like President Pakunoda will be saying this like I'm bring Pakunoda straight away attacking Kurapika. So like at that point that way like Chloro will praise and like precisely once like Chloro would be like that way getting praise from like Kurapika's change in like bring at that point itself like most likely Chloro uh, considering either Chloro or Pakunoda, like right then itself, like capturing Kurapika and like Kurapika only being unable to like move. So like at that point, I'm also preferring like either Chloro or Pakunoda slowly walking towards like Central 2 and like I'm preferring like Kurapika, having to witness like even as the right now itself, like Kurapika has said that basically the last thing she wants is to like witness like to have for her to like lose another friend considering like that exactly to happen with like Kurapika witnessing like either Pakunoda or like Flora taking the life of the Enritsu right in front of Kurapika like the scenario that I'm going to like and very unfortunate. And then I'm going to looking for Flora to like straight away walk up to like the violet and I'm considering Flora at that point self like threatening and ordering like the pirates to like essentially fly like the airplane to like the precise location that Flora would be telling. And that would be like that location would be like the precise location where like Gon and Silva would be precisely held hostage in. So like I'm going to bring like near to that location since like I'm going to bring Flora precisely due to Flora threatening about the like pilots precisely flying like the airplane and landing like the airplane precisely at a location that's like really it would be really close to that location where like Bonnet Silva would be held hostage and like the remaining half of like the panic of members would be like surrounding you on like the scenario that I'm looking. So like right to that precise location, I'm also bringing Chloro, bringing like the captured Kurapika and Pakunoda as well would be beside Kurapika, and we'll leave them all showing up to this precise location, like the scenario that I'm going to predict. And like that way, at that point, I'm also bringing like all of them would be like totally off-road and thinking that basically this is like basically right now definitely this is like the end of the road for like the chain user as well as like friends like basically referring to like going like the scenario that I'm going to bring. And I'm going to bring like Chloro solely taking the decision to like before taking Kurapika's life, like I'm going to bring like Chloro telling Pakunoda to like basically use her powers and basically find out like Kurapika's like Pakunoda to like totally read like the entire memories within like Kurapika, to like the full details and the full extent of like Kurapika's powers and everything about like Kurapika. And Flora would just want to do that before taking Kurapika's life with like the scenario that I do. So like precisely as like Pakunoda would be about to uh, touch Kurapika and read Kurapika's memories. Like at that very last second movie when I'm separating like the team of like Shizuoka Udemy as well as like Udemy's sister will be showing up. It's like the scenario that I'm considering. And right now I'm considering definitely for like so basically since like the impression right now is basically for like Kurapika not being able to like enforce her in condition also like Flora. But the prince so like since like at that point like when like Flora would be showing up to like the first location where like Gon and Lua would be helpful like even at that point like since like Flora would be having like all of his like Nen powers and everything. So like I'm the difference because of the reason I'm the different even though it would be just like even though it would be just like half of like the final group members that will be present in that location where like Gon and Lua would be helpful stage still like even with like on top of that like still since like Flora as well would be present as along with like Pakunoda still would be present there and also bring definitely for like another twist to happen at that very last second I'm also bring while Flora will be ordering Pakunoda to read like the memories of Kurapika and like that very last second before Pakunoda would be able to like read Kurapika's memory like Hisoka along with like Illumi uh, Hisoka along with like Illumi as well as the Indomie sister maybe showing up. And basically, while that ball fight would be happening, like I'm considering like Zeno and Silva as well. They them would have definitely not left like the York City even right now, especially when the Ravens. So like maybe like Zeno as well as Silva showing up. Maybe like Zeno and Silva might also be like somehow secretly part of like Kurapika's plan. Like Kurapika might have secretly messaged them more from them at some point and might have like that eventually resulting in like Zeno and Silva as well showing up to the scene, like the scenario that I'm preparing. So like at that point, like I was preparing like Killua and his like entire family, like basically working with like that absolute team up with like maybe it's also like the Zoldyck family power I'm preparing to be like really shown and team up to be really shown with like Silva, Zeno, like Illumi's sister and Killua, like and then they're already gone and then I'm preparing Kurapika as well as like Hisoka the collective of the team like I was doing the fighting off against like that that half of like the panel problems while I'm considering like it would be Hisoka that would be having just like one versus one fight against like Chloro. Like the scenario that I'm considering. And I'm considering like Hisoka initially not allowing Kurapika to like fight Chloro. It's like the scenario that I'm considering and like I'm considering like eventually switching into my version of for like eventually Chloro to like totally or for Hisoka and basically at that point like Kurapika saving Hisoka and then like the team of like Hisoka as well as like Kurapika like with their absolute team of eventually struggling their way to like eventually offering and defeating Floro. Still Floro getting this message like my impression that I'm putting on the right now, especially in the excellent. Definitely there was a impression right now with like Kurapika enforcing like the condition bound to like Floro and that way Floro losing all of its like powers. Definitely my particular impression right now is that it really puts that, that this way that Kurapika has taken away like the ultimate opportunity of that Hisoka and that ultimate desire of Hisoka to that exactly badly wanted to that basically fight that ultimate one versus one fight against like Chrollo. Since Black Kurapika has right now taken away that opportunity from Hisoka right now through these net conditions. I'm definitely Hisoka definitely being totally crossed with like Kurapika. Once Hisoka will be finding out about this, definitely the scenario that I'm looking for. And I'm going to bring definitely from this point on, and I'm going to bring like Hisoka, though Hisoka would be extremely cross and disappointed with the Kurapika. I'm going to bring maybe like Hisoka to like totally Kurapika without like Hisoka himself would be like extremely would be maybe like getting that shock when he finds out about like what Kurapika has done to like Chrollo. It's definitely my was remembering. So like I was wondering, Hisoka kind of feeling that grudge or like an anger towards like Kurapika. It's also like about that I'm also wondering. So like maybe it's okay when telling. Considering like with just there being like a single episode more for like the season. I'm considering like definitely maybe for that Hisoka before that I'm considering like Hisoka without one great delay would be like the floor of losing one of the spells. I'm considering like the final group right now for like the time being not being able to like a counter attack against like the changes or office or that like the scenario that I'm going to play. So like I'm considering like for like the Fireproof to only actually strike back against like the changes of Kurapika as well as like Hisoka and get revenge on them only like the different changes of just like the scenario that I'm going to bring for like the timing right now. So definitely Hisoka certainly would be like literally getting shocked on realizing what that like Chrollo had his like grand powers taken by Kurapika and I'm going to bring Zoka as well. Like in that the next day, well, like Kurapika right now talked about like basically meeting up with like the hostage for like the final groups, like for like Pakunoda to like basically bring like I think like bring like the hostage to like the Ringon airport at 12 o'clock. Like I'm assuming that Ringon airport meeting would be like the point where like I'm about to bring it, which would be like leading to like the leaving of like Kurapika as well as Gon and Killua as well as like Hisoka from like the university for like the finding of like the scenario that I'm bringing up. Bring them on like leaving like taking planes from like the airport and leaving like the university is like the scenario that I'm going to bring. But like I'm going to bring definitely before Hisoka would be leaving, Hisoka would be like extremely angry with like Kurapika that like I'm going to bring before Hisoka would be leaving. I'm going to bring Hisoka telling Kurapika that basically because you took away my precious opportunity of that ultimate fight against like Chrollo. I'm definitely going to ensure that like I find a solution to like undo your then change condition for Chrollo. So that like I can have like that ultimate battle against Chrollo. With the along the line, Hisoka would be telling Kurapika by looking at Kurapika in the eyes into Kurapika's face definitely my book never stand. Hisoka would be well fully aware that like that is like totally and disturbed for Kurapika, especially because of like Hisoka would be definitely by now would be well fully aware of like how badly Kurapika wanted to like get revenge and bring down like the fandom group. So like Hisoka under the bring definitely getting his revenge, kind of like a revenge on Kurapika by saying this to like Kurapika's face that really that Hisoka is totally going to undo what Kurapika did and basically ensure that Chrollo gets back to like then power is like the scenario that I'm going to bring and I'm going to bring before leaving his okay with telling Kurapika that this means and it's like he wants to undo like the then conditions on Chrollo that if if like Hisoka needs to like take Kurapika's life then Hisoka will be also doing that so like basically watch out for something along the lines of the bring Hisoka telling Kurapika and with that we'll see how the bring Hisoka would be like leaving Rangoon Airport from Linsa Rangoon Airport is like the scenario, eventual scenario that I was on the bring and my cooking reaction. And my reaction is going to be for like in like the distant future for like Hisoka to like eventually figure out a solution to like basically undo like the then conditions and for onto that floor by Kurapika. And I was wondering like Hisoka finding a solution without taking Kurapika's life, like the scenario that I was thinking. So like, and I was wondering if there is the use of Hisoka doing exactly that and that way, Chloro's then condition coming undone and Hisoka having actually like the relationship of having like ultimate fight against Chloro. So it's like one possibility that I'm looking for. Now the possibility is like I'm going to bring in like the resistance of Chloro himself like that friendly like and considering like after like the current incident I'm going to bring like Chloro definitely would be like friendly searching for like solution what sort of solution to like basically undo like the conditions on Chloro. and I'm considering Chloro. Eventually, in electricity, of Chloro finally finding out a solution. Uh, or like I'm considering Chloro, eventually, like the future, running into some sort of like an ultimate powerful villain who would be like so exceptionally powerful, and like that villain might even have like the power to like basically undo like the conditions, and maybe him like basically that the serious villain maybe like undoing Chloro's like the end condition of Chloro. And maybe I'm considering like either Phil and Chloro becoming like partners, like or like a Baldry Chloro eventually maybe ending up being his subordinate also. It's like a possibility that I'm Baldry and Chloro at that point like maybe like reuniting with like the Phantom Troop, and maybe like once again planning on striking back them like together like at that point like strategizing their counterattack on like Hisoka Gong and Killua, and the chain use of the like single cell distributor scenarios like about into that, and also for working on the reinvention. So like the claim of the percentage and potential right now as for like Pakunoda casually like agreeing to like each and every single condition of like Kurapika right now. About supporting like it might probably even have to do like Pakunoda maybe like already having realized like the weakness of Kurapika way back, like also like a possibility that I'm looking that like gone and like that like Gon and Killua are like Kurapika's weakness that basically like that Kurapika will definitely not take the life of Chrollo as long as like the family group members had like the hostage Gon and Killua. This might be something maybe like that Pakunoda might have even figured out way back. It's also like a possibility that I'm discussing, but like a possibility it might be solely due to that extreme gratitude that Pakunoda will be having specifically towards Chrollo, specifically because some of the definitely like Chloro would have definitely saved Pakunoda's life when Pakunoda might have been at like such an extremely dangerous situation, and Pakunoda back in like Simba's Pakunoda might have been extremely scared, and Pakunoda might have been about to have her life taken uh, by some villain or like some monster or something like, and that might have been like the point where like Flora might have saved Pakunoda's life. And about the since then, like Pakunoda might have totally had that like Pakunoda might have never been able to like even see Flora as like a lead, as like an official lead or anything like Pakunoda might have totally had that personal feelings and affection and gratitude, like extreme gratitude towards like Flora since that day. It's definitely my birthday, my friend. Like presently because of all these emotions I'm going to bring Pakunoda might have even while Pakunoda might have totally known that Kurapika definitely won't be taking Flora's life as long as like the hostages are with like the final pro. That's still about to bring like Pakunoda might have still not been willing to like even take the minute or like to like the minute of stitch of like a risk when it comes to like Clorox life to step in by the president. This might be the special reason for like Pakunoda straight away not even waiting to like even discuss with like Pakunoda's like remaining panel group members, and Pakunoda straight away heading off to like the airport, and right now even agreeing to like each and everything that's of like the conditions that Kurapika is saying, and for this will be precisely because of the reason itself my person theory and position right now. Okay, so like definitely my history and position right now with like a Nobunaga that being like the counter attack against like the final group. Like I'm considering right now definitely my preparation that like as like how exactly like the final group members had found out about like Nobunaga's stuff and were even able to like so up to like some first location where like Gon and Killua were kind of hot stakes. Like I'm considering as to like how exactly they would have uh, found out about like Nobunaga's death. Like I'm going to bring an exclusive through his work, and never with references where like precisely like Kurapika might have message like precisely even before giving the order to like to Nobunaga to like precisely bring the two hostages to this like precise location or like the final group often makes up like basically uh, even before that Kurapika might have definitely message like Hisoka. It's also definitely a big dimension. So like Hisoka might not only use his strategy to like precisely in a convincing manner for Hisoka to like leave the final through space and to take the life of like Nobunaga. And I'm going to bring like Hisoka might have strategy Hisoka might have used would be like to successfully phone send the message to Pilumi and Pilumi's sister. And I was to bring like at that point like campus different like Hisoka might have simply message like the strategy, and so like it was especially as per Hisoka's strategy that like I'm Illumi's sister might have shown up to like the base of like the final room. And to that way, in such a manner to like basically ensure that like a few Santa Group members and like the base like actually saw her and basically they saw her right then leaving after her would be precisely leaving certainly during that time like I'm looking the excuse Hisoka might have told that the remaining fan of members at the base might have been that like Hisoka was able to like sense that on seeing that fresh girl like Hisoka had basically like identified her as like an enemy and basically like Hisoka was trying to like track her down but like I was wondering like and so like Hisoka might have died after that like then Hisoka had basically chased after her and basically then after reaching a certain distance like she disappeared all of a sudden and then like basically what Hisoka saw there was basically Nobunaga lying on the floor with like beside like the hostages. This might be along the line that Hisoka might have thought to like the remaining channel members at like the base of this channel and to all the remaining other fans of members as well. This might be that absolute light that Hisoka might have said, told them and tricked them with this definitely not the emotion. So like what actually in actuality what might have happened would be like Hisoka like basically precisely according to Hisoka all of like Indonesia is showing up and Hisoka running off at it like Hisoka like chasing after her and everything like Hisoka might have precisely sure. Especially with like Kurapika might have message like the precise location where like Nobunaga has taken like the hostage corner to and also bring like Hisoka might have precisely showed up to that precise location and might have totally taken the like might have been definitely Hisoka that might have taken the life of Nobunaga. It's definitely my visitor impression. So like I was wondering then like Hisoka might have and gone and Sidua would be like well fully aware of this and might have witnessed like this of taking the life of Nobunaga as never with so like Gon and Sidua right now would be like putting on that absolute fake act and I'm presuming right now like the frustrated fan of group members like I'm presuming right now only threatening Gon and Sidua and asking them as like what exactly to tell them what exactly happened and how Nobunaga had died like the question of like the person who had taken like Nobunaga's life and all that like more like I was bringing the finals for members like assuming that it was like that Gon and Silva are on the team of like the chain user and it would be that one of like one another member of like the in like the team of like the chain user that might have taken and Obinaga's life exactly like how the chain user had taken like Govin's life. It would be along the line also I was referring for like the panel group members to think is also definitely according to that in a way like a lot of confusion happening within like the panel group members. This is what I'm referring right now, especially with like uh, with them like especially with like right now totally Pakunoda might have right now shown like the panel group members of like precisely during like the time period of like Nobunaga's that like precisely that Pakunoda was with like the chain user as well as like since like God and Killua are being held hostage like since like God Killua and the chain user like Kurapika are like the only suspects like I'm going to bring like connecting to the chain user scheme and maybe like even things to like but still I'm going to bring like it will be probably maybe like extremely and I'm going to bring in the case of central to like I'm going to bring like uh, and none of like the panel members maybe like even will be so like the name of the very person right now that like all this kind of providers would be having that absolute confusion as to like how many of these like unknown members of like the chain user are present and all that is like the scenario that I'm in. So like right now it's a kind of different like one of like fan of members like who I'm considering most likely to be like the most the fan of group that's the like fan of group member is like the angriest like I'm considering maybe him totally threatening Ron and Killua and asking Ron and Killua to like reveal what they had so like who had taken like the life of Nobunaga and all that like it's not like the person going to prepare for Nobunaga and all that along the lines I was bring like him totally questioning Gordon Kiro and then I was bring him totally even possibly even asking no possibly even telling Pakinoda maybe even threatening Pakinoda to like totally use her power to read the memories of like Gordon Killua and that way to basically tell them that to like what happened to like Nobunaga that to like who had taken Nobunaga's life and all that. But still I'm considering even Pakanoda will only refusing and telling that she can't do that. Like basically it's like the scenario that that also having to do like I think like the network set up sent by Kurapika and all that is like the scenarios that I'm considering. So like I'm considering, so like my other percentarians predictions of like come up with that maybe like this or that's like often a repeated thing that Hisoka says about like him so desperately wanting to like fight off against like Chloro in like a one fight. Like maybe that might have been like an past dream or like a past goal of Hisoka that Hisoka so badly wanted to achieve and to have a fight against Chloro. It's definitely my preparation. Maybe that's also like a position that I'm looking for. Maybe I'm like seeing Gon at Killua in like the Hunter's exam. Maybe like Hisoka that dream of that or like that goal of Hisoka might have been long gone. The moment he might have seen like Gon and Killua and Hisoka might have straight away seen Gon and Killua as like way more interesting individuals or like future ultimate potential having like fighters whom like Hisoka would maybe like select since then might have wanted to like badly fight off against even way more than even Floro, especially for the Prachan. Because like even though Gona Killua are even in like the are extremely weak, like when compared to Floro still Bosiparinaki Hisoka might be able to like sense that absolute potential within that Gona and Killua to like eventually for them having like a future where they would be like certain way more interesting and strong up and challenging of like a fighter even way more than Chloro. Would be along the lines Hisoka might have even uh, Hisoka might have even felt it definitely when into Rainbow so like maybe this is also like a possibility that I was thinking. So like maybe like Hisoka often even saying that basically he desperately wants to have that one fight against Chloro might also be like a might also possibly be like a like it's also like a possibility that I'm considering. So like maybe everything that's happening right now will be totally going according to like messages and phone calls between like Hisoka and Kurapika only going in that with that after public team, but there's also like a possibility that I'm considering. So I'm considering maybe like Hisoka even being aware of like Kurapika's and being okay with like Kurapika's strategy of like removing like penal powers of Chloro. Is everything is also like a possibility that I'm considering. So like I'm considering right now even Hisoka like precisely right now not going after like Chloro to like basically fight off against like Chloro even when Hisoka had this like and instead of doing that like Hisoka basically heading off to like basically possibly it should be definitely Hisoka that might have taken Nobunaga's place. So Hisoka instead of targeting Chloro and straight away heading off trying to like as quickly as possible head off towards Chloro and instead of not doing that, Hisoka precisely possibly having targeted and taken the life of Nobunaga precisely might be according to like Hisoka as well as Kurapika's secret plan. It's also like certainly a possibility that Empress is only protection and Empress is very impressive. So yeah. So like basically according to my particular impression about it, I think that the possibility of that actually is that like it's been certainly Hisoka that would have taken the life of like Nobunaga and definitely Hisoka even doing that with especially because of like Hisoka wanting that safe exchange of like Gon and Killua to happen like the very next day. So certainly that Hisoka and Kurapika and Hisoka felt that in order for that to happen and basically for Gon and Killua to like survive and be safe without like the phantom group members like not trying anything suspicious like uh, for uh, for it to happen perfectly like so and Sorapia might have felt like that they instill more fear into like the phantom group members uh, especially after like provoking stuff like by taking like Nobunaga's life as well by which surprisingly Hisoka might have done. But surprisingly Hisoka's way to like instill that fear onto like the remaining kind of group members and that way to like trying to like subtly force them into like basically listening to like Kurapika's orders and basically so that like they would be like so that like Pakunoda they would be eventually finally they come to the conclusive decision to basically sell Pakunoda alone with like the hostages gone and Killua so that like that fake exchange and like the safety of Gon and Killua can be ensured would be like if my considering and prediction right now. So it's like definitely a career prediction right now with like Gon of all people like basically revealing that Kurapika's weakness that the Kurapika unless being swayed by her emotions won't take the life of another person. Like they won't even revealing all these truths about like Kurapika to the enemy to the phantom truth like so still supposed to like the miracle to happen and supposed still totally things working out due to that absolute like considering like of gone like considering still uh, things totally working out for the time being in that gone Kilua and Kurapika's favor is like the scenario that I'm interpreting right now. And I'm interpreting like it will be precisely through I'm interpreting with this current reveal about like Kurapika's weakness by gone to like the remaining final members like I'm interpreting right now, especially that like aggressive final member I'm interpreting like him. So right now totally see this as like the ultimate advantage and basically like it's totally telling the remaining panel of members that basically so like basically like regardless of what like basically like the probability of like the changes of taking the life of Chloro would be that extremely slim would be along the line to him above the range to right now tell the remaining panel of members so like I'm the like uh, so like I was bring maybe like things selling that basically that like let's all go together uh, to the airport tomorrow and basically that like for them to like rescue Chrollo and basically then for them to like take the life of that them to for them to like only take the advantage of like Kurapika's weakness by going up there going out to like the airport together the very next day and basically then like let for them to like only use their force and basically collectively attack for the chain user and basically that way save Chrollo and basically then for them to take the life of like Kurapika as well as Gon and Killua might be like the plan and also thing right then for like the aggressive guy fandom remember to tell to like the remaining fandom members after like him hearing about like the weakness of Kurapika through Gon like the scenario that I was worrying but like I'm with like this revelation of about like Kurapika through Gon and the Super totally actually working out in like Gon's favor. Well, and the Super like since like Gon had mentioned like basically that Kurapika of that Kurapika not taking the life of anybody under being swayed by her emotions like and the Super like that swaying by the emotional part like and the Super that about the bring that except for that aggressive panel crew member, all the remaining panel crew members might have noticed that elemental signature. So like I'm considering that especially since like Bond has right now revealed that Kurapika's weakness, I'm considering like that using kind of like a relief to like the remaining panel crew members that release of assurance of the like the feeling from the things Bond said right now said to like the panel crew members that like the remaining final room members right now, even though they right now lost Nobunaga, I'm bringing them right now feeling kind of like a relieved and relaxed kind of feeling with the realization right now that basically that as long as they properly make the exchange, like they would definitely certainly would be like getting back their box floor alive. So like I'm considering like the remaining fans members to think along such lines and like so like I'm considering like solely due to this like revelation of like Kurapika about like Kurapika's weakness by going through like the remaining panel of members I'm considering solely due to that like I'm considering like things working out for like Gon and Killua with that absolute luck and Kurapika with that absolute luck with like I was considering like the remaining panel of members after Gon will be like only badly bonding like that uncertainty totally being removed from their minds about like whether Flora would survive or not, and basically being that uncertainty being fully removed from their minds. Everything to Flora's like survival rate, and that way like I'm also bring solely into that like I'm also bring that I'm also bring like them like the panel group members like the majority of them like totally deciding to like basically send Pakunoda alone to the airport the next day and basically that way like the exchange happening and basically that way like that way like Swan solely due to like Swan's revelation of like Kurapika's weakness like Swan and Killua safety ending up ending up with like Kurapika and basically Kurapika as well keeping her word and like exchanging Chloro and basically Chloro as well like safely returning back to like the final group. It's like the scenario that about to get like Chloro totally being unable to like communicate with like the Riodans and basically Chloro has been forced to like follow like the name condition that Chloro like even though still would be like the pop of like the leader of like final though still Chloro not having any of currently not having any of the like then powers at all. It's like the scenario that I'm considering. And I'm considering like the aggressive guy to like basically even start to like basically show talk to that not take that aggressive guy not taking Floro seriously. That also like the scenario that I'm considering. Once Floro would be settled back to like the Panther group solely due to that Floro not having any mentors and Floro not even being able to communicate with them. So that also like the scenario that I'm about to bring. Here, like I'm about to bring like the remaining fan group members would be like the majority of them would be totally would be still having that would be seeing role of as like their absolute leader. So like I'm about to bring that that's like the scenario that I'm about to bring to happen. So like I'm about to bring like the remaining fan group member putting like the aggressive fan group member in his place and basically about to bring Floro still even without his like any of his like men powers about to bring Floro still remaining as like the leader of like the final group and about to bring the Floro making communications with like the remaining members of the panel too, but like not in a direct manner, but like in an indirect manner, maybe through finding a mediator. It's like the definitive instance scenario that I'm thinking on. So that like the second condition won't be like would be always remaining obeyed like Chrollo. It's like the scenario of like a strategy that I'm considering Chrollo to like really come up with them. This is like the scenario that I'm going to bring on the encryption. Also, like that's a little bit more interesting right now for like even with like Nobunaga step, the fact that like Machi as well as like Sport Toffee are basically on the side of like basically wanting like Pakunoda to like go alone for like the exchange of like the hostages. Unfortunately, like it would be precisely because of like because it's like Machi as well as like and Pakunoda as well wanting to like go alone for like the exchange. Unfortunately, it would be precisely exactly like John said, it would be precisely because of like Pakunoda when so like my doctor mentions that like when Kurapika had earlier phone and called Pakunoda and basically had told Pakunoda to like basically show up to like the airport. Like at that point I was wondering like Pakunoda showing up to the airport all by herself might have been solely due to that Pakunoda possibly having that extreme gratitude towards like Flora that Pakunoda might have not been at all willing to like take any risks at all when it comes to like Flora's life, especially when looking at this might be the sort of reason for like at that point like Pakunoda showing up to like the airport all by herself was definitely and listening to the orders of like Kurapika showing up to the airport all by herself was definitely was very amazing. But like after seeing Kurapika face to face, like that's exactly like how Don things like Pakunoda might have really thought we been able to see how like Kurapika doesn't really need uh, any harm like Kurapika that like basically Kurapika is someone who actually really keeps her word. Like Pakunoda might have figured that out at that point. It's definitely was driven. So like right now, it's a person that's basically Machi as well as, and Pakunoda might have told this to like Machi as well as Soltopi after like returning back from like the airport of definitely was driven. So like right now, even by like the situation being like Nobunaga having died on pretending considering like still for like Machi as well as like Soltopi to like totally support Pakunoda and to be of like the decision that Pakunoda to head off to like the airport like the very next day all by herself. It's precisely because of like Matthew as well as Paul Hopping was like being that I'm considering like them might not have that fully trusted like the words of Pakunoda, but still like for them it would be like even right now it would be that extreme that dependency on like Floro as like their leader that like they won't be like both Matthew as well as Paul Hopping might even to the person would be like not at all willing to like not even take even like the remote of sit of um even the remote split of letter when it comes to that concerning Chrollo's life into the liver vegetable. So like this might be the total support like Margie as well as called out there right now supporting Pakanoda decision to like go and also like the airport for like exchange next day. Definitely a very emerging. But like and I'm considering like as for like the death of Nobunaga, I'm considering definitely after seeing Kurapika definitely Pakanoda, even after seeing Nobunaga that like I'm considering like Pakunoda would definitely be not at all believing that basically Nobunaga's death having anything to do with like the changes of Kurapika's doing is definitely my very impression. So that might be the case for like Pakunoda, but like the case of but in the case of like Machi and Voltopia, I'm considering like even though they won't be like fully believe that like it definitely wouldn't be that until like Gon had focus basically I'm considering like both Machi and Voltopia might have not been like fully of like the belief that basically like Nobinata does not have anything to do with like the change user, but like I'm wondering it might have been solely due to like Matthias and his photo with like extreme dependency and like hence like the possibly existing extreme desperation to like have like Laura back as like the leader of like the final would be like the sole reason for like them feeling as like they have uh as like them being desperate to like want to believe that basically that Pakunoda would be like let's say even after going alone by herself, like would be returning back with like Laura safely. This definitely might be this might be the preparation for like Gold of as well as like Marty totally trusting or like totally wanting that Pakunoda to go alone to like the airport. Then the next day, definitely one of the emotion. Okay, so like the clear book we have mentioned right now as for like the suspicious person that have right now shown up to like the airport, especially during like the exchange, like I'm considering that will definitely be not any of like the financial members, nor it would be within Hisoka. It's definitely by the direction. To be precisely below me, it's definitely by the direction, especially because of like Hisoka, when Hisoka had basically message, Hisoka might not have been the message below me for and so like when Indomie had shown up like a different like Indomie might have also decided to like stay a visit to his like his brother that Kilua. It's definitely my brother. So like so only say to that like I'm different like it's a game that needs to do me that will be like right now would have shown up. It's that and so the airport is definitely my person to make impression right away. Say like the clear about the preparation as for like the other purposes that like basically the professional skills person like walking towards like the airplane and but maybe the other purposes that like it might be actually Hisoka. So like I'm when it may be Hisoka that would be like with like for us phone as well right now ringing like it would be like definitely Hisoka. So definitely the premise and especially since like the of at that moment itself seems to have identified like kind of like identified the person untuk like the person that you are might have identified would be perfectly due to like you are being able to identify that person would be perfectly due to like it being perfectly to talk about also like the property that I'm right now leaning more towards the step level and about the brain to be Hisoka that will be working towards like their financing to give certainly Hisoka that would be even calling Hisoka calling Kurapika on phone because they are thinking like working towards like their plan as well definitely my impression. And I'm considering like the reason would be for Hisoka right now showing up would be precisely not at all to like have like one fight ultimate fight against Chrollo. It would be precisely because of especially like the nail condition that like Kurapika had enforced onto that Pakunoda recently was precisely even that basically that Pakunoda is not supposed to like to basically spread information about like Kurapika after the exchange. So like I'm preparing like since like after like Pakunoda had returned from like the airport like since that time period was before like the exchange like I'm preparing Pakunoda might have revealed about like everything that has happened like at the airport at the plane when at the airplane like Pakunoda seeing like Kurapika and like the whole the scene Kurapika not only Kurapika but also like Chrollo as well and basically how like the men so like my the impression is that like Barcelona might have actually like revealed like the net conditions that basically Kurapika had like enforced on to like Chrollo and that basically that Chrollo right now doesn't have any net power doesn't have access to its like net power and that basically Chrollo can't communicate with like the uh, panel of like what you think maybe like a something like Pakunoda might have revealed to like the remaining panel of members after returning that from the airport. But also like members again. According to like Kurapika's like name condition which like Kurapika might have placed on to that letter that Kurapika had left precisely while abducting Flora and considering like it would be precisely through that maybe through that paper that embassy that Pakunoda might have totally figured out like the exact precise exact powers of Kurapika, like the exact net conditions that like Kurapika has played for like Kurapika to attain her net powers, her superior net powers, which she was able to like even take out a Wogan as well as like intercept like Flora. Definitely my to remember so like or like Pakunoda might have totally like learned of like Kurapika's like exact length condition maybe while reading the memory test to honest like a kind of like a remote cognitive that I'm anyway like this exact length conditions that Kurapika has made to enhance Kurapika's like nine powers. Like this would be alone like the only thing that like Pakunoda would be like prevented from maybe like some condition of Kurapika might be prevented from being able to like regain to like the remaining final defenders, especially when for like the precise current then conditions that especially Kurapika has had placed on floor or maybe like Pakunoda might have revealed that to like the remaining final defenders is also definitely necessary. And then the super thing that that way, like Pakunoda might have revealed about like everything that happens within that airplane, and considering that way, like Shizuka might have realized that basically Chloro currently is like only absolutely powerless and doesn't have access to the and power, and has like the issue, other issue with like him not being able to communicate with like Kurapika and such. Like basically Shizuka might have learned about all this maybe through Pakunoda. It's definitely my positive energy. So like right now, I'm considering like there's a reason for like Isoka right now showing up to airplane would be precisely solely due to this reason. It's also definitely my positive emotion. Right now, I'm considering like definitely it's basically my positive emotion that Isoka like this ultimate desire that Isoka often repeated about like him wanting to have that one versus one fight against Chloro might have definitely been a lie. Like in actuality, like Hisoka might not even be interested in Chloro. Like Hisoka might have just only wanted to after like meeting Gon and Killua, Hisoka might have been only interested in like Gon and Killua and eventually having that ultimate fight against like Gon and Killua. So like Hisoka right now would just want to like be rid of like the Phantom Trope. It's definitely my personal impression. So, like, considering like to be precisely just that intent that Hisoka might have even showed up this time for like the kind of meeting like your curiosity. It's definitely my personal impression. To for Hisoka to maybe like considering like Hisoka might have wanted to like bring down Chloro solely so that like Hisoka that way might have felt that basically if Hisoka does that, like maybe like the panel group members won't be able to like uh, quickly that come after or like capture Hisoka. Might be along the line Hisoka might have spent or Hisoka might have also thought of like the positive like that way like Chloro. It's gone like maybe like Hisoka might have noticed like some of like the panel group members having extreme dependency towards like Hisoka. Towards like Chloro. So like I was thinking like maybe Hisoka might have also felt that if Hisoka brings down Chloro and takes the like Chloro, then like the panel group member might even get split up and like the group as well might get disbanded, might also feel like a possibility that Hisoka might have felt. So like I'm just thinking Hisoka might have wanted like the to free himself from like the Phantom group might have been Hisoka's like desire after like meeting Gon and Killua. Definitely remember this moment. So like with this intent like Hisoka might have not only shown up to like Geoffrey City but might have also like during like the towards like the ending of the Hunter and like Hisoka even revealing to like Kurapika um about like your city. I think like and for that like basically to be precisely with this intent to like successfully for Hisoka to get say be able to like say this goodbye to like the Phantom Group and be freed of like the Phantom Group especially when so like right now with like Hisoka most likely might have totally found out about like Chloro losing his like land powers and like Laura not being able to communicate with like the Ryoda and like basically it's Pakunoda might have told to like the remaining panel group members Hisoka might have only been there. So since Hisoka was there, like Hisoka well might have only heard that. So like right now it would be precisely Hisoka that would be like precisely walking up to like the airplane and then the next Hisoka would be like walking towards like the airplane to like board the airplane while at the same time like right before boarding like the airplane for Hisoka to like reach the fact that he is like the ultimate creator of like the fandom group to precisely floor of my games is Hisoka's intent. So like I'm assuming this exactly to happen. Like Hisoka suddenly showing up to near to like the airplane and I'm considering Hisoka right now would be even phoning Kurapika and telling Kurapika to that it's me that you can safely land like the airplane. To get along the lines Hisoka would be saying so like Kurapika trusting Hisoka and like the airplane landing and I'm considering like the exchange happening and precisely while like the exchange happening like Floro Hisoka would be like totally smiling at Floro and basically Hisoka at that point while Floro as well as during the exchange while Floro as well as Pakunoda would be right there. And I'm remembering Pakunoda being shocked that change Hisoka right there. And I'm referring that precisely as like the scenario that I'm considering is like Hisoka and Pakunoda as well as like Floro during the exchange being all together. So like I'm considering right then his Oka only looking at like Roro and basically revealing to Floro how he is like the traitor. He was like a traitor of like the final princess in that time. And his Oka even saying that with like a smile. And I'm considering like his Oka only saying this and basically like getting on board like the airplanes like the scenario that I was doing. And at that point I was different like both Pakunoda as well as Flora being absolutely shocked at that realization. It should be only happening at that point for them realizing that Hisoka like the traitor would be only happening at that point is like the scenario that I was different. And I was different like before Hisoka even both enters like the plane along with like Gon, Killua as well as like Kurapika and all of them like uh, right before like Hisoka enters like the plane and basically shuts the door like I'm considering right before that like I'm considering that Floro saying some sort of like a dialogue to Hisoka that basically has like whole message of like final message of like a threat that basically the panels of would eventually no matter how many then conditions would be like enforced onto like Floro by Kurapika still the fandom group eventually would be like still coming after you all and basically would be capturing and like bringing you all down and taking finishing you all off. Like basically the fandom group, the spiders would be still after you. Like basically along such lines like I was saying like a final dialogue like I was saying Floro telling Hisoka and Hisoka was like at that point like responding back by smiling or laughing at Chrollo and basically the them like totally getting on the airplane and leaving. It's like the Don Killua, Leorio, and like Kurapika and Hisoka like all leaving by that airplane, while Chloro would be taken back to like the Phantom group by Pakunoda. Who would be at that point like revealing that shocking news to like the remaining Phantom group members that Hisoka at the same time was like a traitor. It's like Steven Johnson scenario that I'm going to remembering. I was just very interesting right now. So like the flavor of very production right now that like on top of like the liberating like is on top of like revealing to like Pakunoda and Chloro that he is like the traitor. That he was like a traitor like on top of that like about the Pakunoda and for Pakunoda and Chloro getting like that ultimate next shot with like Hisoka basically revealing to them that basically it was him himself that Hisoka himself that had taken the life of like Nobunaga basically Hisoka even revealing that to a shop Pakunoda as well as Chloro. And after that, like I was going to Hisoka telling them that like he's leaving like the Phantom group for good. Like he was like totally patiently waiting for like an opportunity to like leave like the Phantom group for good. And basically that way Hisoka telling uh, them like for Floro that basically that like now and I think like now it's like the most convenient time for me to like basically leave the Phantom group for good. Like precisely saying that while smiling at for Floro, who at that point, like without having any manpowers or like losing like the ability to like communicate with like the fandom group, like any of the fandom group members would be like extremely kind of like irritated at that point, like the scenario that I mentioned. So like Hisoka saying his goodbye to like Floro as well as like Pakunoda as well as like considering Hisoka telling them to like say my goodbye to like the remaining family members as well for Hisoka. Like basically that way Hisoka saying his goodbye and basically and that way mocking Floro as well as like mocking Floro and basically straight away getting into like that airship along with like Gon and Kurapika and the others. It's like the scenario that I'm going to bring another very